Who's hitting .239 with 2 home runs, 8 driven in, and our Domino's first pitch is taken for a ball outside. We're underway here in St. Louis at 7:16, and it's 87 degrees. Got up to around 92 today. Warm during batting practice here at the ballpark, as the Reds have played fairly decent this year. Now, they did just drop 3 straight on the road against Milwaukee. They'll start 3.5 games out, but 3 games above 500 at 26-23. And there's a look at Dusty Baker.
Dusty's team's lost 6 consecutive games on the road.
Schumacher to Albert. That's how we start the game. But they have that good young pitching, and despite the fact that their lineup is a little bit dinged up, their pitching can carry them.
That's right, and they, the opponent's batting average against is pretty good for Dusty because they do have some strikeout pitchers there. And we were talking about their .410 team ERA. Well, we need to brag a little bit about the Cardinals, as they still lead the major leagues with their .360.
You saw Wainwright having some fun there with Schumacher. Wasn't sure what to do with Rich Aurelia in the 7th inning yesterday. If he gets past Aurelia, the Cardinals might have had that winning road trip.
Aurelia, over the years, has really been a Cardinal killer, and a tough one. Adam really didn't have his good stuff, but he's a great competitor. And you need to get them a little more offense.
And amazingly, that was the first home run the Cardinals had given up since May 18th.
Was it 11 games, over 100 innings? So that's just how good the starting pitching has been, and pitching in general now leading the major leagues in ERA.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Rosales. Popped up. LaRue will give it a look, the former Red. And it's out of play, 1-2. It was over 1,500 pitches between home runs, which the Cardinals had not given up a home run. And we're saying something.
Well, not only that, remember, with pitch counts, that's still a lot of innings.
Sure. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Check swing and a strikeout. First of the night for Todd Wellemeyer. So he's got the first 2.
Real good pitch right there. It all of a sudden looked like a wicked breaking ball. Let's take a better look at it. As there's that good slider that fools Rosales, who has been one of the better players of late. They really messed Encarnacion over at third base.
He's still a few weeks away.
Yeah, he's a few weeks away, and of course Harrison, who plays third base, and very good. He came down with the flu last night. And this guy, after a poor April, had a terrific month of May, playing with a fractured tip on his thumb.
29 RBIs in the month of May. That's the most by a Reds batter in a calendar month since Adam Dunn had 31 in June of 2005. This guy is a very good player and really established himself with the Cincinnati Reds. Won the Rawlings Gold Glove at second base in the National League a year ago. And not only playing with a fractured thumb, but it also took the nail off the thumb. So that is a painful injury he's dealing with.
Yeah, instead of going on the disabled list, he kind of battled his way, said, give me a couple days off. He showed bunt the other day and kind of received a walk, and then he hit a home run the next day.
And they say he truly is one of the leaders on this team for the Cincinnati Reds. Now, you mentioned a couple of big injuries and guys out with illness. And maybe the biggest missing component in this lineup, Joey Votto. He will not play in this series.
Put on the disabled list, and he is by far their best offensive player. And really kind of a bit worrisome. As Phillips has walked, but Votto put on the disabled list with dealing with his issues and anxiety, social anxiety. Cleo Green is having trouble dealing with failure and frustration. Votto is having a terrific year and is having a hard time dealing with it. Had to take himself out of a couple games with dizziness.
Well, they said, I guess about a week ago, he had a couple of home runs in a game and then went to Dusty Baker and asked to be taken out of the game, dealing with the dizziness. So that's unfortunate that they do not have Votto in this lineup and Encarnacion out as well. So 2 big bats and really glove men for Cincinnati as well.
So there's numbers against the Cardinals, and Votto just really a second-year player. Encarnacion has really blossomed with the Reds.
Hard not to like this guy, Jay Bruce.
Well, you know, right now they say, you know, it's home runs or strikeouts. He's got almost 25% strikeouts, you know, for his at bat, but you see those 14 home runs.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. There's the changeup. 5 straight balls, and then came back with the changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jay Bruce said to anybody that wanted to listen before they went on the road that they would be in first place when they came back. Unfortunately for Jay, he went 1 for 13 with 1 RBI and 6 Ks over the weekend against the Brewers. Walt Jocketty, when they called up Jay Bruce, he said this kid is going to play. If we bring him up, which was just about this time last year, if we bring him up, you know, he's not going to be a platoon guy. He's a young player that we need to develop, so if we bring him up, he plays every day. He did, and he was a sensation in Cincinnati right off the bat.
Whether it's a sophomore jinx or just something where you just kind of take things for granted, think, okay, this is going to be easy, and it doesn't work that way.
Still has had pretty good numbers, 9 home runs, 36 RBIs.
That's what I'm saying. Throw to first base was that signal, but yeah, the home runs are fine, but when you're striking out 25% of the time, and you know, that's just not good enough. Fastball in.
Phillips faking going to second. LaRue pulling his own Yadier Molina. And he picks the runner off at first. Brandon Phillips. LaRue, Molina, it doesn't matter. No score after a half inning. Tell the story here as he sees Brandon Phillips dancing off the bag at first base. Just moments before this pickoff throw from his knees, and Albert was there, and an easy tag. I mean, he was out by a couple of feet.
Oh, absolutely. He tried to, hopefully Albert would miss the tag and kind of sneak in behind, but did not react after the pitch. And wasn't it interesting, you saw where LaRue really accentuated, throw that pitch inside, setting up. In his mind, he was going to make that throw.
So Phillips picked off, and it sends us to the bottom of the first. No score here in St. Louis. This guy is tough. Edison Volquez, our Marshall Wireless starter for the Reds.
Well, he's very good. He's just coming off the disabled list. The one thing, you see the 31 walks in 48 plus innings, 45 strikeouts. But they were a little concerned about his control because he didn't have much of it before he went on the disabled list.
Skip Schumacher has good numbers against Volquez, 3 for 8. Most of these batters with a limited history against Volquez, who was with Texas and then part of the Josh Hamilton deal that brought him to Cincinnati. And that trade has worked out for both organizations undoubtedly. Hamilton, an all-star last year. Volquez, a 17-game winner for the Reds. And to win, they're going to need pitching, just like any team, but especially in that ballpark that they play in.
That's right. And this is a young club that really trying to find their character. They are defined by some very good pitching.
Outside, 2 balls, 1 strike. Volquez is returning from the disabled list. Dealing with a leg injury, and said being on the DL was harder than being on the 25-man roster.
Well, if you remember when he faced the Cardinals in Cincinnati, he was on a career-high 16 scoreless inning streak, and very early in that ball game, he threw a ball away. You know, he's made a couple errors this season, and maybe sometimes that's what you try to do: drop down a bunt, make him field his position, and see if he will throw the ball away.
Schumacher, Rosales to first, and Ramon Hernandez. Skip retired for the first out. Let's take a look at this Cardinals lineup. As you mentioned, the bats have to be better here in the month of June. Schumacher, Rasmus, and Pujols. Then Duncan, Ankiel, and LaRue. Thurston, Wellemeyer, and Brendan Ryan. Last road trip, very good. Couple of doubles, 8 hits, and a 3.81 average.
A little spark plug is. Rasmus is in the magic 2-hole.
Interesting not to see Ryan Ludwig in there tonight, as they have loaded up with the lefties.
My guess is that, you know, playing the entire weekend series after coming off the disabled list for Ludwig, and obviously his timing a little bit off, probably gets a day off. Then you'll see him back there on a more frequent basis again.
Talked to Ryan about his timing over the weekend. There's a look at Ludwig, the all-star last year, and he said that he felt good. He said the only thing is that he started to jump just a little bit because he didn't trust his hands. So I was watching him in batting practice today, and right after that conversation, he went in and hit. Then he said everything he was trying to do was go to right, and he said he felt great after BP today.
You know, Dan, that's a great statement. Don't trust your hands. You know, great hitters like an Albert Pujols never thinks about his hands. He can wait till last second and always knows that his hands will get to the point of contact, get through the hitting zone.
That's exactly what Ludwig was saying as the ball jumps off the bat here of Rasmus, and he's on his way to second base. Colby will stop there. When he gets into it, the ball does jump off his bat.
It sure does. And, you know, this Reds team struggling a little bit defensively. And there you get a ball out away from him. It's good to see him take that outside pitch. Hit a line drive. That's the type of hitter you want him to be. You know, you got a couple home runs, and then you start getting underneath pitches. Home runs are great. But when your average starts sinking, it doesn't do you much good.
I know you were really into the song that Albert Pujols is trying out tonight.
I am really into it. So what is it?
It's The Professor and Kingdom, both by Carson Jones. You got that on your iPod.
Somehow I don't know the song, the name, or the
group, the individual,
or whatever.
See if they pitch around Pujols here. Pujols is 9 for 17 against Edison Volquez. He's got 3 doubles, 2 home runs, and 2 walks. So this might be your time that you say someone else like Chris Duncan's going to have to beat me tonight.
Well, that's it. I mean, right now, after we saw what he did in the San Francisco series, 7 for 11, had a couple home runs. You know, you got first base open. There's no reason to allow him to beat you. Now, Volquez is good enough to where he can deal and challenge him and even at times get him out. But the numbers suggest that it might be better off to pitch around him.
I thought it was interesting. Last year I had a conversation with general manager Walt Jocketty of the Reds, and he kind of equated the situation with the Reds to when he first got to St. Louis. The only difference is he walked into a situation with the Reds where they've got pretty good pitching.
Well, and a much better farm system.
Sure. You watch this guy go, he's pretty good.
I just wonder if Walt enjoyed watching Albert play a little bit more as the Cardinal general manager than as the Reds general manager.
2 balls and no strikes.
Walt does have his home for sale.
I noticed that.
Oh, you're now in the real estate business too?
I just watch guys, you know. I mean, I hear people.
Son Joey just graduates, and then his daughter still has a year at SLU.
Joey was at the ballpark today.
Yep.
He's going to Miami of Ohio on a 2-0 pitch. That's a strike at the knees to Albert Pujols. The gum comes out.
Now he's serious.
Yep. When the gum comes flying out, he'll take a whack at it. 2 balls and 1 strike, 1 out and a runner at second base. Outfield is deep. Big gap in left center. There's a look at Walt Jocketty. Good to see him back in St. Louis.
Yes.
And that's a strike. What's it say here to have a young pitcher like Volquez going at Pujols early on in this game with first base open, and you know he knows the numbers that he's got against him.
Well, it's rarely do you see young players do this, but this is a talented kid that last year won 17 ball games and making sure that time is called so he can tie his shoelaces. Surprised with those long pants, he even knew that they were loose.
That's how a lot of the young players wear their pants now. Down by the ankles there with the no stirrup showing. And sometimes it's tucked underneath the back on the heel.
At least in baseball wise, they've got their pants up over their buttocks.
That is a positive, Al.
Low riders I don't like.
There's a base hit for Albert Pujols. Rasmus will score from second. Pujols is digging for 2. And he is safe. Don't hurt yourself, Albert.
Boy, he might have hurt his ankle there. Look at him. As he is tough, and he get up on it. But now it's...
Oh, the gaffs. But out of the stadium as people saw him go to his backside. They will check his ankle.
Sometimes you will slide and you'll get in an awkward position, and if you get back up on your feet, take a step or 2, you're okay. But that doesn't look the case here. As Barry Weinberg very concerned with that ankle. You know how aggressive he is running the bases. Rarely does he get hurt, but the throw kind of beats him into second base, so he tries to slide around it. And there you see the awkward slide as his foot kind of hit the bag, and this is not going to be a real good sight. Watch the ankle, hits the bag, flips over, then he gets up over on it.
Looked like he twisted it twice.
Yep. And he's on his feet right now, and that's a good sign, but it's hard to believe that he's tough as nails, and I'm sure he's lobbying to stay in this game, but I'm sure Tony and they're all sitting there saying, hey, you're too valuable. Let's get some immediate attention to that. He's saying he's okay.
More of an ovation for that than there was for his base hit RBI.
Everybody says it's the first inning. I want to see wants 3 or 4 more bats.
Oh, don't hurt yourself. Watch here. Maybe you agree. I think he twisted almost twice.
I agree.
Right,
he hits the bag too. It flips there, then it flips again, and then almost kind of like, when it got up in the air, it kind of dangled. He grabs it immediately.
One of those situations too, where you're halfway. Are you going to slide? Are you going to stand up? And I'm sure he was looking where the throw is going to come to at the position of the bag. So where am I going to position myself?
Great point. I mean, you always got to anticipate sliding, but when you slide very late, that's when you really risk serious injury.
And a pitch to Duncan, so we'll keep a watchful eye there on Pujols.
I said, sometimes when you get back on your feet, and it's, and you kind of stretch it back out, and that looks like the case. Moving a lot better right now.
I guarantee you, if he has a chance to score, he's going to run right through Kendo. There'll be no hitch in that step, and he'll score.
No doubt about it. We know Albert.
And now it's Duncan. So that puts Albert at 8 for 18 against Volquez. And now he is 8 for his last 12. Cardinals' first innings, 16-3 when scoring at least a run. And the last 5 games, the Red starters have allowed at least 1 run.
And it's 9 total in the first inning against the Red starters last 5 games.
Here's a 2-0 pitch now to Duncan. Upstairs 3-0. And Keel on deck.
It's the one thing. Volquez really struggled with his command before he got injured. And they're a little concerned coming off the disabled list what type of command he would have.
You get the feeling, too, with this lineup, Al, it's also a lineup that's trying to get some other guys going. You know, maybe a Ricky and Keel, a Colby Rasmus.
Well, you probably could look at both teams are looking that same way, trying to generate some offense. Because they're not the same team without Votto.
Here's a 3-0 pitch. And that's ball 4. So Ricky and Keel will dig in. But still only 1 out. Reds defense here tonight, presented by Auto Tire. Nix, Dickerson, and Bruce, Rosales, Gonzalez, Phillips, and Hernandez. The battery tonight, Volquez and Hannigan. Auto Tire defense for the Cincinnati Reds. We're talking about this over the weekend. If you can get Ricky and Keel on one of those torrid streaks that he will go on, it just takes a lot of pressure off whoever's hitting behind Albert Pujols.
Really hasn't had that streak yet this year.
He hasn't. Runners at first and second, and that's, you know, coming off a pretty good spring training too. Quietly, he put together one of the better spring trainings offensively for the Cardinals. Mario Soto, the great Cincinnati Red, has taught many of the Dominican pitchers of the Reds in their organization the changeup, and that includes Volquez.
The changeup was kind of a pitch that developed in the 70s, and Soto was one of the best that could throw the ball in the mid-90s and came up with that great changeup.
A lot of people, and you would know better than most, Al, because you've done it at this level, will say, I've seen guys that just don't have a very good slider. They don't have a great curveball, but they've got a very good moving, sinking fastball that they can spot, and they've got a changeup. And those 2 pitches have carried them for years.
If you can throw a good sinking fastball and the changeup to keep the hitters off that fastball, you know, you can do a lot of damage and win at this level. A lot of times guys, you know, throw numerous breaking balls, but they aren't very good.
0-2 pitch. And a strikeout of Van Keel. And what you get to with Volquez, he's kind of got that wild motion. And not to say that he's Bob Gibson, but to watch him sometimes the way that he'll finish. He'll finish a little bit like Bob Gibson.
Yeah, and to me, it's all part of deception. You know, it's you know, having a guy just stand straight up and throw straight over the top. A hitter just loves that because he can see the release point. When you got a guy that is sneaky fast or hides the ball a little bit, or as you're saying, finishes in kind of a violent way, then you know, you kind of lose the release point a little bit, and your eyes get distracted by the motion.
There's a breaking ball and a strike, so he stayed away now from that fastball here the last 4 pitches.
I always told you the story about Bob Gibson. Knowing Bob as well as I do, I see him one time and he's upset. You know, he's pitching coach, and I said, "What's wrong, Bob?" "Oh, nothing." "What's wrong, Bob?" "What? Nothing." "What's wrong?" "Yeah, you know, I said something I probably shouldn't have said." I started laughing. I said, "What is it?" He goes, "Well, it's one of our pitchers. I already got 4 or 5 pitches, and he told me he wanted to learn a new one." And me being me, I said, "Well, you ever thought about getting rid of 3 or 4 of those mediocre pitches and just concentrating on getting one good one?" And the guy got mad at me. He said, "You know, I was a 2-pitch pitcher." And I said, "Yeah, fastball, slider, 2 great pitches." And he goes, "Well, I had a curveball, but it's like these guys. I was scared to death to throw it. It was
right.
a roller."
2 pitches can get you through.
If you have good quality, exceptional pitches, you're right.
And LaRue swings through the changeup. 0-2.
What makes his changeup so effective is the great arm action.
And that's what I mean by his motion being almost violent, and so many body parts going everywhere.
And that's why it's hard to pick up the release point. But when he throws his fastball, it looks just like his changeup, but it's held back into the grip to where it deadens it, and he can't throw it with any velocity. But it looks just like the same as his fastball.
0-2 pitch to LaRue. And that'll be a strikeout of LaRue. 2 in the inning. Cardinals will strand 2, and thank goodness that Albert Pujols is all right following his RBI double. 1-0 after 1. Al likes to get to the youngsters and teach them all about pitching and what you'd like to do. There's that pitch outside, and he said, okay.
Come on, hit him.
Boom,
yeah,
right there.
That's it. Get some respect up there.
Got a little scared.
And then he couldn't throw another strike.
But that second pitch, that was all you.
Oh, yeah.
You're out there yelling at those poor kids. We pulled you away to do an open, and now you're sitting down doing the game. Great instruction, Al.
Thank you.
Here's Jay Bruce, who was left standing at the plate after the pickoff. Brandon Phillips at first base by LaRue.
Never asked me to go to those clinics, have they?
I've noticed that you're, when we always talk about you can learn baseball from Cardinal greats. Al, you're never there. You'd scare the children. Come here, kids.
Yeah, it was at elementary schools today.
And I'm just joking. You do a great job with that program. Countless schools that you have been to. 1-2 the count as Todd Wellemeyer is trying to improve on beating up on these lefties. They're hitting .320 against him. Different year, though. No Dunn, no Griffey. That helps. There's a liner out to left. And the catch made by Duncan. So Duncan comes up with it. That brings in Ramon Hernandez.
Sinking fly ball. And bottom line is it stays in his glove.
Exmo Cam brought to you by Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill. So Duncan makes the catch, and here's Hernandez. Jay Nix is on deck.
You see some activity in the Reds bullpen.
You wonder if something has flared up on Volquez.
Remember, he just came off the disabled list today because of back spasm. That's Mike Lincoln. That's our old buddy. Their Reds bullpen has an ERA of 1.29 on this road trip.
Well, that would be the last thing that they would need after watching them lose 3 games against Milwaukee over the weekend.
Just a few trainer talking to him as he's kind of shaking his head, so I wonder if he injured himself or just the reoccurrence of the back problems.
So he just came back off the DL tonight. High chopper, Brendan Ryan backing up, long throw, picked by Pujols.
You've got a catcher running, and see Brendan Ryan kind of allowed that ball to play him, goes back deep on the outfield grass, and then slings the ball over there. But the one thing is, he bounces it well enough in front that Albert gets a pretty true hop, but it was off to the side, and he wanted to make sure he was not in the base path and get run over by Hernandez.
So 2 outs. And Lance Nix, his brother, plays for the White Sox and got a multi-home run game the other night when Lance went deep as well.
Well, Lance kind of saved them earlier as Dickerson was really struggling offensively and defensively. He came on to play and really kind of helped the ball club for a while.
See LaRue take a look at Nix, make sure he's not peeking. He did that the pitch before. Even at this level, they do that, don't they, Al?
Oh, sure. You know, I mean, everybody's trying to get an edge, and what we mean by that is a lot of times you're swinging the bat and you'll look back, see if you can see the sign given by the catcher or even location. But that's kind of a no-no.
Ground ball. Brendan Ryan up with it. Reds 1-2-3 here in the second. Good start for Todd Wellemeyer. Let me in. I want to watch Albert. He's still looking for a way to get in as we come back from break. Where's mom and dad? Our call to the bullpen. So Volquez is out. Mike Lincoln is in, the former Cardinal. Now 33 years of age, 6'2", 220-pounder. We always liked his stuff. He was with St. Louis in 04. He went 3-2. Then he got hurt. Tried to rehab with the Cardinals in 05. He sat out in 06 and 07. And pitched with Cincinnati in 64 games last year. So he's finally healthy and back for the Cincinnati Reds. So Mike Lincoln forced into this game because of the injury to Volquez. He'll take his time in getting loose, so we'll step aside here on Fox Sports Midwest. Live look there at Joe Thurston standing at second base following his ground rule double on the first pitch here from Mike Lincoln. So you didn't miss much, just one pitch, but Thurston turned on it. It was just inside that right field line, and he winds up at second base. It can't be easy for Mike Lincoln in this spot, not expecting to come in certainly this early into the game. And now Wellemeyer gets the bunt down perfectly, the sacrifice, and that will go 5-4. If you're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv. Catch over 100 live out-of-market games per week. For complete details, visit STOCardinals.com, where baseball is always on.
Dan, for somebody that's been in that situation, you come in because of an injury, it is the most awkward situation. Is the whole world stops to watch you warm up, and you always seem to say, okay, you feel the pressure, and you always say, okay, I'm ready a pitch or two too soon, and then you'll kind of settle in. But he is a relief pitcher, but as you said, even he's expecting to come in later, midpoint of the game, with Ballquez starting.
Infield is drawn in. Now you have that secondary leadoff man here with Brendan Ryan, and anything's in play with Ryan.
Absolutely, and he's been a spark plug of late. He really has played well and just kind of energizes the ball club, both offensively and defensively.
Brendan pulls it, and it's out of play. No balls and 2 strikes. A little surprising, to see this early in the game Wellemeyer on the mound, so you think you might get to him or the Cardinal bullpen, and yet Dusty Baker playing his infield in.
Yeah, this early in the game, and I'd just play him back. Of course, Dusty has seen a lot of times where Tony will implement the squeeze play, but right now Brendan is one of the hotter hitters on the team.
0-2, fouled back in a good rip.
He had 462, 6 for 13 in the San Francisco series. On the road trip, almost 400. He's got a 4-game hitting streak, just shy of 500. So right now, Tony giving him a shot to drive in the run himself.
When he hits in the leadoff spot, he's hitting 8 of the 10 games that he's been the leadoff man for the Cardinals. So he's provided a little spark there. This is where he hasn't had a lot of opportunities to drive a runner in, and he hits it to first. He won't drive one in here, as Hernandez will step on the bag, and the move pays off for Dusty Baker. Hit hard enough to the right side where Thurston, he could take that chance, but I don't think he would score.
Be a play at the plate, and you're going on contact. Probably going to be a play at the plate, but they said Hernandez has really been a welcome player and played very good defense at first base. He's a catcher, played very good defense, and he's hit well. And now with Votto out, he's going to get a lot of playing time.
There's Skip Schumacher. Remember, Mike Lincoln had that devastating breaking ball when he was with the Cardinals.
Yes, he did, and missed 3 years with Tommy John surgery. Did not play for 3 years. Was a comeback candidate in the National League last season.
We all were hoping that he would get back with the Cardinals because his stuff was just nasty when he was here.
Really surprised us, and really seemed like he got overworked that April, and just all of a sudden blew out the elbow, and then had a long battle to come back. And I think Walt Jockey saw how good he was when he was healthy and gave him the contract last year.
It's amazing how these guys come back from that type of surgery. And most people will tell you, knee surgery, ankle surgeries, foot surgery, whatever the case may be, they baby it when they come back. And a lot of these pitchers, they feel so good right after the surgery, they want to start throwing as if they were never even hurt.
If you have a successful rehab, that Tommy John is one that a lot of ball clubs prefer you to have.
Yep. 1-2 pitch. Pulled to first. Handled easily by Hernandez. Cardinals waste a very good opportunity. Nice work by Lincoln. 1-0 after 2. And a lead of 1-0 for the Cardinals. And so far so good for Todd Wellemeyer. 7, 8, and 9 for the Cincinnati Reds. Gonzalez, Hannigan, and then Mike Lincoln.
He's been hitting well of late. He's had a bout where he missed 9 games with an oblique strain.
Stuff is a lot sharper tonight. Talking about Wellemeyer.
Yeah, you could tell his breaking pitches. You know, he's got good life. Remember, he first came over here, he could throw about 97. Dave Duncan got him to back down and have better command with his fastball. He's always had a pretty good slider and a very good changeup.
Reds are coming off a Sunday afternoon in which they were 3 for 16 with runners in scoring position, and they stranded 11 in the game against Milwaukee. This is the first of 4 against the Reds, and that's fouled back. As we mentioned, night in and night out, they can throw a pretty good pitcher at you. Unfortunately for them, Volquez short tonight. Johnny Cueto will get a start in the series. Bronson Arroyo, Aaron Harang. So 4 pretty tough pitchers the Cardinals will face.
Absolutely, and you got your work cut out, but what happens with that bullpen? So important for Mike Lincoln to give him some innings.
2-2. How huge is that? I mean, for him to be somewhat extended in this game so that for the next 3 nights their bullpen isn't overworked.
It's my understanding that I mentioned that their bullpen has been very good on this road trip. They're 0-3, but their bullpen has an ERA just over 1. But they said it's because they're lost all the games. It's guys that, you know, really are not going to be counted on late in the game if they have a lead. So they probably have some well-rested arms. Cordero is their closer.
You know, one of the guys I've really liked over the years, even though he's not a headline grabber, is David Weathers, because you need guys that can bridge the gap to get you to the 8th or 9th inning, and guys that don't get hurt, and he doesn't get hurt.
Well, remember last few years he's been their closer too. But you've got Arthur Rhodes, you've got Weathers. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's not a prototypical closer. Now he's where you would associate him with as their 8th inning guy.
Here's a high fly ball out to shallow right. Rick Ankiel is there. I want to remind you once again, this is going to be a lot of fun for us. It's Wednesday, June 17th. The Cardinals host Jim Leyland and the Detroit Tigers. We'll be there to broadcast the entire game from Busch Stadium's most popular all-inclusive club. It's the Champions Club. It includes a full upscale buffet, 2 full-service bars, and a great view of the game. It's down the third base suite level. Great tickets remain for this game at STOCardinals.com. So when you think about having a start to a game that's around 95 degrees, which we get quite often here in the summer months, the way to do it is the Champions Club. You get seating outside, and then when you get a little hot, you head inside.
Sure.
Nice and cool.
There's a newcomer in that bullpen that I've heard some of the scouts are just raving about, Nick Masson. And a guy that came over from the White Sox in the Ken Griffey deal. That they are saying he is one of the best young pitchers, you know, that they've seen around the league right now as a setup kind of guy. So we'll jinx him.
I miss seeing Griffey, by the way.
Miss that smile, don't you?
I do. I just miss having a chance to watch, in this era of baseball, one of the greatest players that ever played. And he was clean. And that's the thing that you have to admire about him, is that he put up historic numbers and continues to do so, even though he's hovering around 200. But by all accounts, Al, he did it clean.
Yes. Never ever rumored or mentioned any time.
You know what? When he got older, his body looked like he was getting older.
Yes, and you know, he's breaking down at times, but you know, he worked hard, and most of the time when he got hurt, it was on the field, you know, playing hard.
And unfortunately for him, it just never seemed to come together with Cincinnati. And Willie Mays gave him advice to go back to Seattle and finish up where it all started. And it's been a renaissance of sorts for the Seattle Mariners just to have him back in uniform. You know, without him or without Randy Johnson, and to an extent without A-Rod, Seattle may not be there right now because they led the charge to get into the playoffs, and the kid was there. Randy Johnson was incredible. They drafted A-Rod and had some pretty good teams along the way.
Bruner.
Yeah. Edgar Martinez.
You know, I mean, they had some electric teams, and you know, they didn't win. They had some great players. Ichiro.
Here's an 0-1. Randy Johnson will go for win number 300 against Washington.
And that will be on Wednesday, as the Giants have today off. You know, look at the Nationals. How lucky can they be? They get to play at home against the Giants, and they get Lincecum, Randy Johnson going for 300, and Kane, who's 6-1, and pitching very, very well. Hey, how lucky can they be?
When it rains, it pours. You're the Washington Nationals. And by the way, Scott Boras only wants $40 to $50 million for the #1 overall pick. That's it.
He can want it. He won't get it. And he'd be doing a disservice to that young man if he does get that any kind of money close to that.
And there's a called third strike on Mike Lincoln. So first time through the lineup and no hits allowed for Todd Wellemeyer. We'll tell you the Cardinals are 12-3 against Cincinnati here in town, and in Cincinnati the Cardinals are under 500 at 8-10. Our keys to the game since 2007, winning ways here at Busch Stadium.
The Cardinals got the lead with the RBI double by Pujols in the first inning. They did strand 2 in that inning. They stranded 1 at third base with 1 out last inning. And Mike Lincoln, after giving a leadoff hit to Thurston when he came in this game for the injured Volquez, they're saying now it's a numbness in his pinky and ring finger, and he'll be flown back to Cincinnati and reevaluated.
Would that be, and this is Colby Rasmus, something that goes beyond just the finger and the hand, Al? Is it something that you might experience with an elbow?
Yes, that's the first thing would come to my mind is, you know, the elbow issue, and then you start getting numbness in your pitching hand, those 2 fingers. So that is a forerunner to something that could be much more serious.
Here's Rasmus into center field. Dickerson back to the wall, and it's gone. Colby's 2 for 2. Rasmus picks up his 6th home run.
Well, by his dad's account, he's in the first days of May. as his dad was talking about, 5 home runs a month. It's not the type of path that you would think that the Cardinals, they want him to be a line drive hitter. They feel the home runs will come with time. But, you know, he's getting some extra base hits. But 2 for 2 tonight, but that average has sunk about to the, 220s, the high 220s.
You mentioned his dad. Colby was telling me not too long ago, he said, the guy that knows my swing better than anybody, my dad. And he'll be getting out of school because he's a teacher, and he's going to come to St. Louis with my mom. And he said, I can't wait to get in the cage with my dad just to have him take a look at my swing as well.
It's not always the thing that big league coaches want to hear.
But it is reality, isn't it?
I remember Keith Hernandez. Keith Hernandez was, really struggling with the Cardinals in the early 70s, and we're out on the West Coast, and Keith's dad walked in the clubhouse and started chewing out. The hitting coach said, what have you done to my son? Blah, blah, blah. I see his swing one time. I corrected. Big league coaches really don't want to hear that.
Well, how about
it doesn't endear you to it, but it is a reality.
Yeah.
Like his dad is a high school baseball coach. He's coached him ever since he's in Little League, and I believe his dad. And I met him a couple years ago. He did play a little minor league ball, and he's got a younger brother that's a pitcher in the Atlanta Braves organization.
Hey, if someone can help you along the way,
that's right.
Why not?
I just said it. Major league coaches aren't,
right.
They're not endeared to it. I didn't say that it doesn't help. It isn't helpful.
And Pujols
usually keep it to yourself.
Will limp down to first. If you're just joining us, he had a single that he turned into a double, and hustling into the bag at second base. Sprained his ankle, looked like slightly, so he seems to be okay. Join us on August 31st from the Country Club at St. Albans, the Pujols Family Foundation. And find out more at Pujols.FamilyFoundation.org.
Hey, I've got a rematch with the Albert Pujols All-Stars. I was a little distraught last year. They beat me 17. Well, I gave up 17 runs. But we're going to have a rematch on June 15th out at Mike Matheny's field out there, where Albert's Down syndrome All-Star team are going to. Well, they'll probably win again against me.
No surprise. 1-0 pitch to Duncan. Slicing out of play. By the way, Mike Matheny's field is located in Chesterfield, and there's a number of ball fields and soccer fields around it, but his is very special because his field was made specifically for physically handicapped children that might be in wheelchairs.
Wheelchair accessible and everything else. It's a beautiful little park, and that's going to be about 6 o'clock on June 15th.
And he did that with the Catch-22 Foundation, which he is hands-on with. You hear about a lot of athletes, they have foundations, but it's great to see guys like Albert or Mike Matheny that not only put their name to those, but they show up for the events, they donate money, and they make sure that the money gets appropriated to the proper places.
Albert's out there, and those kids just absolutely love him. And I know last year Andy Bennis pitched for one club. Mike Matheny and John Mabry were out there.
Here's a 1-2 on the inside corner, and a strikeout of Duncan. First strikeout for Mike Lincoln.
Duncan keeps on seeing this pitch as a pitch inside, and has been rung up numerous times on a pitch that the umpires are calling strikes, and he's backing away from it.
One out. Here's Rick Ankiel. You go back to the last time that we saw the Chicago Cubs. Alfonso Soriano led off the series with a base hit, and Yadier Molina eventually then would pick him off in that inning. It was uplifting to see that. This isn't uplifting. That's a 4-6-3 double play. You wonder if LaRue's pickoff can have that same effect here in this series, really setting the tone against the Cincinnati Reds. These days will tell us. Dickerson, Rosales, and Phillips coming up. By Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. And by the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots. Cardinals with a 2-run lead as we move to the top of the 4th. And the top of the lineup for the Reds: Dickerson, Rosales, and Phillips. Well, we heard when we turned the calendar towards June, we would know more about the status of third baseman Troy Glaus, who is out with a shoulder injury. We haven't seen him at all this year. And in just a moment, John Mozeliak will join Jim Hayes, get an update on that. By the way, the pitching staff is getting healthier in one end and not in the other. At least that's what we thought. Brad Thompson will start tomorrow. I talked to Kyle Loge before the game tonight, and he'll make his start. He was showing me where he was hit, and he said it just didn't feel right on his forearm and when he was pitching and doing side sessions. So he will make a start, hopefully Wednesday. And Pinheiro dealing with back spasms. They're hoping that he will not go on the DL, but will make his start at some point during the homestand. So Loesch
is going to go Wednesday,
right? And we'd have Thompson going tomorrow night.
And Pinheiro actually did it Saturday, working out with Pete Prinze. So it was kind of in the weight room and in the locker room doing some exercises where he had the back spasms.
2-2 misses in. And the count is full. And what's big is in that interview with John Mozeliak, if the Cardinals feel they have to address the situation, then he'd have to figure all trade options would be wide open. So let's find out more. Jim is standing by with the Cardinals GM. Jim.
I am with John Mozeliak. And John, you guys got a medical report on Troy Glaus, and I understand the news was encouraging, right?
Yes, he passed the strength test today, so he'll be cleared for baseball activity beginning tomorrow, and we'll start a throwing program, and then he'll progress to a swing of bat.
Does the report change anything in terms of what you guys feel you have to do to address third base and the possibility of going outside the organization to enhance that spot?
Not really, because we understand it's going to take some time, and in fairness to where this club's at and what we're trying to accomplish, I think we need to look to see how we can best add some offense to this club right now. And if we get Troy back and we still make a move, I think that just puts us in a better spot.
Khalil Green is on the DL as he works through his personal issues, but he's going to be around the team. What's the latest on him? And I know there are some privacy issues, but what can you tell us about the progress he may be making?
Well, he is dealing with some personal issues, and one of the things we talked about was keeping him around the team, and that was something that he wanted to do, which we felt was good, because part of the things he's dealing with is the interaction of being at the ballpark, and so given the opportunity to work on some of the things he needs to deal with and doing it at the ballpark, we think is great.
Last thing, when Albert twisted that ankle, your heart stopped, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Mo, thanks for the time, buddy.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, we send it back to you.
He's not the only one. And here is Brandon Phillips. Watching that, it looked like Ankiel didn't believe himself that he caught that.
Kind of did a double clutch as he looked up and wasn't sure if he even caught that ball.
And clearly that is his ball going that direction. For both these guys, for Ankiel and Rasmus, they'll both tell you that they prefer center field over a corner spot.
A lot of outfielders find that center field is easier. So, not all, but many find it easier, where the toughest ball is the line drive right at you. Watch him catch this ball, and then he kind of looked up like, "Whoa, did I still have it?"
He did.
That was a little awkward.
Going in that direction, obviously much easier for him to throw from that spot. I think we all would welcome a throw. That could be a potential double play.
By the way, that was the first stolen base against LaRue this year, but only in the second steal attempt.
Dickerson with his second steal of the year. That was the first base hit for Cincinnati. here tonight against Wellemeyer. Cardinals have out hit the Reds 4-1. They lead it 2-0.
So good news in a sense on Troy Glaus, but I mean this is just baby steps, and you realistically you really can't assume that he would be able to help this team until really the All-Star break. I still think if you could make a deal for DeRosa, I'd make that deal, because not only does he, you know, help you immediately, but then hopefully you get Troy Glaus back and you have a super sub that could, you know, provide a lot of punch offensively and spell guys defensively all over the place.
Think about how Tony La Russa uses those kind of players. I mean, DeRosa would get a ton of at bats. He'd play all over the place.
Well, he played in 6 different positions last year with the Cubs and hit like 26 home runs.
You know, and you and I have talked about it both on and off the air. The Cubs, I think, really miss DeRosa, and you add a guy like Milton Bradley. If he's not hitting, you know, where's the addition by having him part of that team because of what comes along with Milton Bradley?
Well, it's my understanding the Cubs really felt they needed to add some left-handed hitting, and because they have their team for sale, they don't have an ownership. In order to take on payroll, they had to eliminate payroll from, you know, from within, and Marquis left, DeRosa left, so they could take on that $30 million, $10 million a year for Bradley.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
And most people in baseball kind of question that one. He's a switch hitter.
That's line foul. Right through the wickets.
Was that Aaron?
And now a fan nearly falls out of the seats.
Is that Aaron?
Aaron had to do what the pros do. Look at his glove to see if there was a hole.
Oh, you're much better than that, Aaron.
He's pretty disappointed in himself.
Well, he should be. I mean, he's never failed us like that. You look like the old dudes
down in San Francisco.
wait till Aaron hears that one.
And that is officially their name. And a swing and a miss. So Phillips strikes out number 3 for Todd Wellemeyer. This week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Ryan Howard and the defending World Series champion Phillies take on Andre Ethier and the Dodgers. Rematch of last year's NLCS, or the Indians battle the White Sox. Twins take on the Mariners. Fox Saturday Baseball.
Right through the legs by Aaron, and then watch the fan right in the corner. Tries to reach out there.
It's a great effort.
Buddy, hold on to him. Yeah, that's a good effort.
But Aaron, questionable.
Look at, he knows we're talking bad about him. Better practice a little harder. He'll show up during the game, won't it?
He's frustrated. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Here's Jay Bruce. A 1 pitch to Bruce.
Yeah, what's the theme? Play like a Cardinal? You have to have better effort than that.
I was looking at this promo. Ryan Howard could be an all-star from St. Louis.
Mark Burley.
Mark Burley, another one. That would be a thrill to come back to St. Louis and have a chance to compete in the All-Star game.
And apparently Burley in interleague play has never pitched here in St. Louis, so that'd make it even more special.
Sure. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs, and a runner at second. 2-0. The Cardinals lead it here in the 4th.
And back to DeRosa, we're pretty good at spending other people's money.
I love it. Hey, you got to see what else I do. One ball, 1 strike. The next 2, Bruce. And it's 2 balls and 1 strike. So this is as of today. Braun, Ibanez, and Soriano in the outfield. David Wright and Hanley Ramirez, Chase Utley, Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina still leading at catcher. And apparently, Manny Ramirez has dropped to either 5th or 6th. The balloting for the All-Star outfield. Good to see Ibanez in there. Fans taking notice of his start, which has been outstanding.
And while the Cardinals have been on the road, you see that Albert's still the leading vote getter, but Utley catching up. I think Albert, he has more than 1 million votes more than Votto.
About the all-star first baseman in the National League, you could have Pujols, Howard, Prince Fielder, Adrian Gonzalez. Have you seen his numbers?
He's leading the league in home runs, right?
Yeah, and what
is that, 20 yet?
What a great year. I believe so. What a great year he has put together. And I believe number 20 was hit last night, and Gonzalez is playing in one of the biggest ballparks in all of baseball in Petco. And playing in San Diego, and the fact that their team has not had a great start to the year, they did have that long winning streak. It doesn't get a lot of attention either. Where a guy like Pujols, nightly you see him on the highlight shows. So a walk, and the second of the night by Wellemeyer, and it brings in Ramon Hernandez. So 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. And just 1 hit allowed. Our Firestone leaderboard. And this is Hernandez, who grounded out 2 short. Runners at first and second. Pitch taken a little bit high. See the extra base hit leaders. That's updated tonight with Pujols double.
Ramon Hernandez mentioned he's a catcher. He's caught 5 of the team's 6 shutouts. With Votto out, he's playing first base, doing a nice job there. But they have a pretty good situation between Hernandez and Hennigan.
The Reds yesterday struck out 14 times. 14. Brewers scored 19 runs in that series on 27 hits. And their starting pitching, while we've been praising it, struggled back into that series. Game 2, Aaron Harang, 8 runs in 4 2/3. Micah Owings, 5 runs, 8 hits, and 5 2/3. So those 2 did not go deep, so that has to be a concern for the Reds here tonight. That's a base hit into right. Here comes Rick Ankiel. He'll fire to the plate. Here it comes, and not in time. Ball scoots away, and with that, Hernandez advances to second base. Strong throw by Rick. But with the ball scooting away, it'll be a single RBI on the play, but with it scooting away, now another runner's in scoring position.
Should have a good shot right here. Wellemeyer's not in the right position and hit the lip, and that's why LaRue has a little trouble with it. Gets underneath it, sunk when it hit that lip, and watch right here. He gets blocked the plate. His toe does go across the plate, but Dickerson wasn't sure, and he went back and physically touched it. With the ball back at the screen, it made no difference. So.
But now it's Lance Nix. Reds get on the board. It's 2-1. Runners at second and third. Nix grounded out to short his first time up. A base hit could put them on top for the first time. As a pitcher, as you know, Al, this is where you have to really bear down and get that third and final out. Those 2 out base hits and the RBIs can kill you.
They really do, and you really got to concentrate. Goes back and remember the walk to Bruce kind of set up the inning. You have a man on, but you got 2 outs. You walk Bruce, who's stranded out there at third base now, and then you give up the RBI base hit behind it. You got to stop the bleeding.
1-0 pitch. Here it comes. Ground ball. Pujols can't get it. Reds will go on top, and they've done all this damage here with 2 outs. It'll be a double for Nix. 2-run score, and it's 3-2 Reds. So he had 2 outs. Then he had the walk to Bruce, single by Hernandez, double by Nix, and it's 3-2.
The location, remember we talked about left-handed hitters have killed him all season. 320. Albert may not have quite the range tonight with that sore ankle. But you know he'll give you everything he's got in trying to knock a ball down. Quick visit by Duncan.
Couple pitches up this inning.
Yes.
Good point though with Pujols. Again, if you're just joining us, scary moment with Pujols in the first inning, extending a single into a double. Awkward slide into the bag. Looked like he sprained his ankle, and he just missed that ground ball off the bat of Nix.
They now have changed the scoring and put an E9, allowing Hernandez to go from first to second instead of advancing on the throw.
You agree with that?
Yes. I mean, it's one of those tough ones because it did go right through. Have no problem with the error. Just trying to decide where it goes on LaRue or it goes on Ankiel. And thinking about it again, I'd say it probably should be at the catcher because it went right through his legs and it bounced right there. Hit the lip. You can't fault either one there.
0-1 pitch, and that was the key. I mean, in his defense for LaRue, that thing's coming in 100 miles an hour and it hits the lip, so you don't get the true hop that you're expecting.
Doesn't hit the lip right at the meaning of the grass and dirt right in front of home plate. You know, he gets a nice bounce and probably blocks the plate and saves a run.
And this is hammered out to left center field. Rasmus on the move to the track, to the wall, and he's got it. Chased it down in left center field. The Cardinals will have LaRue, Thurston, and Wellemeyer coming up. That takes a hit and an RBI away. Good speed by Rasmus in center. We want to remind you, Sunday, June 7th, the Molina Jersey Backpack Day, Powerade and Shop and Save. Head to STLCardinals.com to find out more. That'll be this Sunday, June 7th. And leading things off for the Cardinals, Jason LaRue. 3-2 now. The Reds on top. First pitch grounded to short. Gonzalez there makes the play easily for the first out.
Mike Lincoln has settled down. He's only allowed 2 hits. Leadoff double by Thurston when he came in, but stranded him at third. And then a leadoff home run by Kobe Rasmus in the 3rd inning.
Thurston with that double, trying to combine with Barton at play third base. Those two were very good in the beginning of the season. Barton has hit a little bit of a rut now. One for his last 18. At one point, he was hitting .438 in late April. Danny Conley celebrating his 10th birthday with his buddies here at the ballpark. Happy birthday to Danny Conley. There's a strike, 1 ball, 1 strike. Cardinals have out hit Cincinnati 4-3, but they trailed 3-2. Mike Lincoln took over for Edison Volquez, who left after just 1 inning, experiencing numbness in his fingers. So now it's Mike Lincoln, and I talked about, Al, the fact that, you know, their last 2 starts for the Reds in Milwaukee didn't fare too well, didn't go all that deep. So the bullpen really could be an issue now for Dusty Baker.
That's right, but as I said, because they lost, they have their late inning guys and their closer all rested.
Good pitch, 2-2. Dusty Baker, he went back and forth with Tony La Russa, his days with the Giants and Bonds, McGuire at the Cardinals, and then again with the Chicago Cubs. Sosa. Those games were fun.
Yeah, he finished his playing career playing for Tony, and they probably were, you know, with the Atlanta Braves at one time together.
Thurston was the first batter that Lincoln faced back in the 2nd inning. And that's pulled foul.
Got a nice letter from Mrs. Linda Knight, El Dorado, Illinois. Thank you. Remembering some past games. Mike Lincoln was a guy that, you know, we always rooted for. As we talked about, missed 3 years after he had the Tommy John surgery. And just a real class act.
And that's a ball inside. So Cardinals have received 3 walks tonight, and 2 of those from Mike Lincoln. We'll collect the second in a series of 5 historical All-Star Game lapel pins on Thursday, June 4th. The Cardinals take on the Reds. So this Thursday, 25,000 fans, 16 and over, receive the pin, a tribute to the 1948 All-Star Game. That'll be courtesy of Bank of America. Those pins are awfully nice. Wellemeyer sacrificed his first time up. Time is called. And there's the bunt. Second sacrifice on the night for Todd. Stan Musial shares the All-Star record by playing in 24 All-Star games.
At one time, Dan, they had 2 All-Star games in a season. So that's where you see some of those numbers get pretty lofty. But he was good enough to, even if they were playing 1 a year, it'd be about that same total.
He started 14 of those. 6 All-Star home runs. 40 total bases, tied with Willie Mays. Here's Brendan Ryan. And he takes a ball low and away. Ryan grounded out to first with a runner at third. The infield was pulled in. Cardinal shortstop couldn't drive him in. Brendan with only 3 RBIs on the year.
And it's a little bit troublesome, but batting either the leadoff or 9th spot in the order, he hasn't had many RBI situations, and he let one get away tonight.
I was about to say, it is a little misleading because of where he's positioned in the lineup. It's tough to get those RBI situations. Regardless, though, like earlier tonight, you got to drive that runner in. 1 ball, 1 strike with 2 outs and a runner at second.
Daniel Ray Herrera, the lefty, is warming up in their bullpen.
A little bit low and outside. Mets lead Pittsburgh 5-3. That's in the top of the 8th.
Marlins come up with some runs. They are now leading Milwaukee 7-4 in batting with the bases loaded and nobody out in the 6th.
Jeff Suppan made the start in that ball game for the Brewers. 2-1 pitch. 2-2.
Suppan had a bad game against the Cardinals, and normally he mows his former team down and really has struggled against everybody else. And maybe that trend is continuing again tonight.
Signed that big contract, 4 years, over $40 million, and he was known as a big game pitcher. They were looking for innings and a guy that had been to postseason play to lead that young team.
And then last season they were reluctant to pitch him in postseason.
A bit surprising, but you had Sabathia, you had Sheets,
and
Gallardo was coming back.
And there was a reason for it.
Yep.
You got to go by what you see. With the Cardinals, he was as good as postseason pitcher the Cardinals had.
Little chopper, short. Cardinals strand a runner, their 4th of the night. We played 4. Cincinnati on top. They lead it 3-2. Rapid rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. 3-2. The Reds have the lead as we start play here in the 5th. They have only 3 base hits tonight. The Cardinals with 4. And Cincinnati scoring all their runs with 2 outs against Todd Wellemeyer. Sean, Jack, Joe, Thomas, and Kelly all enjoying baseball tonight here on Fox Sports Midwest. Up the middle, and that's a base hit. So base hit for Hannigan, and it brings in the pitcher spot. Let's see what they want to do. This date in baseball history brought to you by Schnucks. Tied 4-4 back in '96. Tom Pagnozzi hits an incredible blast that possibly landed in the Mississippi to win the game in the 10th. I'm not sure it went that far, but it is our Schnucks this date in baseball history.
Possible a fan dropped it there.
Yeah. Leave it to you to put a little damper on the old Schnucks this date in baseball history for Pags.
Pags is one of my favorites too, and I'm sure he's down paying attention. Down at Fayetteville, Arkansas. And he's got his great foundation down there. Does an awful lot of work with youth charities in that area.
Here's Castillo as a pinch hitter. So Mike Lincoln, pretty good work.
Castillo is celebrating his 25th birthday today. He was recalled on Saturday from Louisville. He really earned this promotion. In 30 games, he batted under 200. And it's his second stint for the Reds.
Again, leave it to you to damper a promotion. And on
hey, this is the big leagues, man. You got, you know, the facts tell the story. But here, he has no batting average.
1 ball and no strikes in a 3-2 game here in the 5th. And it's fouled back.
Castillo, who Willamar is facing, got called up when Votto was put on the disabled list. Second stint with the Reds. He was here for a couple days but did not play.
And here's a 1-1 pitch instead. A check on the runner at first. Well, these starters, with this great run that they put together, they have avoided that big inning, and that's a real reason why you see the Cardinals competing. They may not win all these games, but at least they're competitive, even with the offense not as good as we've seen it.
Keep the ball in the ballpark. You don't, give up 3 runs or more. You've got a chance to win ball games. But
pitch out and staying put is Hannigan. So Mike Lincoln, 3 innings. Follow Volquez. Gave up a couple of hits, walked a couple, and home run to Rasmus. Cardinals picked up an RBI double in the first inning by Pujols and a solo home run by Rasmus in the 3rd. That's fouled back. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Wilkin Castillo.
Kind of moved around. He's played 1 game at AAA at second base, 12 at third base, 2 in the outfield, and 16 games as a catcher.
Check swing and a foul.
You see some versatility from Castillo.
Well, thank goodness in this ball game Albert Pujols wasn't hurt. That's what stands out for me so far. Pujols sliding into the bag at second base, an awkward slide, looked like he may have really done some damage, but that wasn't the case. He's still in this ball game, and Castillo ripped it right by Albert.
Did hit 281 last season, coming over from Arizona in the Adam Dunn trade.
So runners at first and third.
And once again, a left-handed batter, ball out over the plate, and gets hit hard and by Albert. Down into the corner, and with nobody out, Trevor Miller is coming up. He's got a birthday present.
Well, for years it was Walt Jocketty on the opposite end of those deals, acquiring the Dunns or a Griffey or somebody down the stretch to help them, the Cardinals specifically, get over the hump. And now the way that baseball has gone about it, it just seems that it might be a little bit tougher to get some of those players back in return, meaning the younger players, the cheaper players, because that's the direction of most organizations.
A lot of clubs are holding on to their young, inexperienced, and inexpensive players. And sometimes now you can only deal one to be free agent for another, and not getting a lot of the young talent in between. Return.
1 ball, 1 strike. This is Chris Dickerson, who's 1 for 2. He's also stolen a base back in the 4th and scored on the single by Ramon Hernandez. Big blast in this game was that Lance Nix double that plated 2 for the Reds.
Sometimes when Wellemeyer gets in a little bit of a jam, he gets disinterested. That's when he's got to really concentrate all the harder to stop the flood.
1-2. Breaking ball not quite as sharp as we've seen, although he got away with it. Dickerson swung through it.
It's that roller that Bob Gibson was talking about. We've seen him a couple times throw a good slider, but they've been to right-handed batters, and it would be down and away to a lefty out or a right-hander out of the strike zone. That pitch to the lefty just doesn't seem like he has the pitch to come inside. He's leaving a lot of pitches up out over the middle of the plate.
Mentioned that Brad Thompson will start tomorrow. Then we'll see where that takes us as the Cardinals will get Loge back.
It'll be 17 days tomorrow in between appearances for Brad Thompson. Good luck.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Instead, a check on the runners.
What happened the days when they said the sinker ballers need to be pitched higher?
Just don't see it, do it.
I was talking to Dick Pohl, Dusty Baker's pitching coach, and they've been together ever since Dusty started managing, in the fall league before he even got a big league job. And he said, I have to tell, guys come up in the minor leagues. He said, they don't. He said, I've called down the minor leagues and said, look at, this is one of our top pitching prospects out of the bullpen, and he hasn't pitched all season in back-to-back games. He said, I've had guys pitch 2 games, pitch a third of an inning, pitch an inning, and then the next day they're sitting in the dugout with their tennis shoes on. I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm not going to pitch today. He goes, hey, this is the big leagues. You got to be ready every day. Go get your cleats on.
Just missed full count. The thing about Thompson, it seems like, at least when he goes down, that he is more comfortable as a starter than he is as a reliever.
There's Dick Pohl. He's an old-timer that I enjoy talking to.
Big pitch in this game right here. 3-2. Runners at first and third. And Dickerson swings and misses.
He's a ball 4.
4th strikeout for Todd Wellemeyer. None bigger than that one there.
That's right. But a lot of times, you get a ball up out of the strike zone and they'll swing at it because they're expecting you to throw a strike. And that is one of the times where the ball up and away is a benefit. You see a little bit of excitement there as he's trying to fight his way out of it.
Here's Rosales, who is struck out and flied out to right. First pitch strikes. He's been pitching behind most of the night, 6 of 20. That is a big stat when you look at it, a real telling stat.
Very few pitchers can be successful pitching behind the count. Now there's some, and there have been some very good ones in the past, but it's not the easiest way, and definitely not the way that Dave Duncan teaches.
Charlie Farrick is celebrating his birthday here at the ballpark, and he's 8 years old. And he wants a double play. Fly ball into deep right center field. Over to get it. Rasmus makes the catch. Runner will tag up from third for out number 2, and that makes it 4-2. Rasmus at times can be a little bit casual out there in center. And I know Dave McKay has talked to him about a play like this with a runner at first and third. The man from third's going to score, but with the runner at first, get it in quickly. He may be tagging as well.
Well, you have to assume that he is. And if you assume aggressively, you rarely will make mistakes. But, he's had a couple of little outings lately where he's, been a little casual and opposition has taken advantage of. And that is one thing this Reds team is noted for. Going from first to third or taking the extra base. But it's part of the learning process.
Brendan over to Albert. Reds add to their lead midway through 5. And it's 4-2. Due up for St. Louis. The top of the lineup. Skip Schumacher. Colby Rasmus. and last year's MVP, Albert Pujols. Those three next. He leads the Cardinals here in the Cardinals half of the fifth. And the top of the lineup for St. Louis due up. Our Bud Light, what's on tap? The difference is drinkability. The Cardinals will face that high leg kick of Bronson Arroyo. Sometimes great, sometimes not so great. Arroyo against Brad Thompson. He really is hit and miss. Not a lot of middle ground with Bronson Arroyo.
No.
Always fun to watch, though.
How about this kid? Listed at 5'6", 165. Daniel Ray Herrera, 24 years of age. He features a screwball.
And explain a screwball for those that don't know.
Well, you think about throwing a curveball where you'll pull down a lampshade. A screwball, you almost turn your wrist over. And
instead of turning it one way, you turn it the other way.
Yeah, and so you turn it the opposite way. And if you get on top of it, it looks like it would really hurt your arm. But if you get on top of it and throw it right, it really doesn't hurt your arm. But it is. There's like a slider or a curveball that way.
Who threw one that you saw that was pretty effective? Anybody come to mind? Fernando is the one for
kind
me.
of, you know, I mean.
There's a grounder hit to second. Phillips has got it.
A lot of times when a guy has a screwball, he has trouble with left-handed batters because it's a pitch he frequently only throws to right-handers. So you saw they throw the breaking ball to lefties, and he'll have Rasmus here. And this kid's been on quite a roll where, you know, he posted a 1.64 ERA in 12 appearances in May. If you go back to his last 11 appearances, it's under 1.
Rasmus is 2 for 2, average now up to 240. He has doubled and homered tonight. A couple of runs scored. The 2 runs for the Redbirds. Outfield is deep and a 1-0 pitch. Under the glove of the first baseman. Let's see what they want to rule it.
I'm sure they give
Rasmus is on base for the 3rd time.
I'm sure they give him a base hit, but it's not as good as they see. Here the double in the 1st inning, out into right center. Then in the 3rd inning, a home run to deep center field. It's over the wall up on the batter's eye. And then now you see his defense. A nice catch up against the wall. And they did score a single. So he is 3 for 3 and only lacks the triple, which is reasonable for him with his speed for the cycle.
Ooh, vicious rip by Pujols. So it goes under the glove of the first baseman. Hey, you're at home. You get that call.
Yeah.
So Rasmus gets the single, and as Al mentioned, he's a triple away from the cycle.
You got a catcher over there at first base playing out of position.
Pujols hits it to third, could be two. Out there on to first, double play.
There's the screwball.
So 5-4-3 on the double play following the base hit by Colby Rasmus. Scoreless inning for Herrera. It's 4-2. On Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by AT&T. Switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Four to 2 Cincinnati, and Trevor Miller will take over for Wellemeyer as Wellemeyer gives the Cardinals 5 innings here tonight.
Five hits, 4 runs.
Jay Bruce, Ramon Hernandez, and Lance Nix.
3 of those were earned. He had a couple walks, a costly one, number 2.
So Jay Bruce, who has walked, will dig in. He has also scored and flied to left.
It was the walk to Jay Bruce, the number 2, off of Wellemeyer, that came with 2 outs, and then a couple RBIs, base hits that followed.
Your thoughts on Wellemeyer, because initially he looked pretty good.
He looked very good for really 3 innings, and kind of struggled there in the 4th and had a little more trouble in the 5th. That's when they scored. 3 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th.
Trevor Miller seeing a lefty here. Then Lance Nix hitting from the left side, the third batter up. So you get the feeling this is his inning, one way or another. And he has been very good against those lefties. He drops down, and you watch left-handed batters hit against Trevor Miller. Doesn't throw hard, but they don't seem to have real comfortable at bats against him.
Well, they're 3 for 29, a 103 average. He's been scoreless in 11 of his last 12 outings, and it all factors in with that breaking ball.
So if you don't throw hard, you're Trevor Miller. You're spotting the fastball, you throw it inside, you're backing off the guy, and then all of a sudden you break off that nice curveball that he's got. You can get him.
Yeah, he threw the fastball there that Bruce couldn't center, fouls it back, and sets up with 2 strikes. So you'll see probably the breaking ball.
And there it is. Strikeout of Jay Bruce. Look at the bullpen usage for Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan.
Pitch is thrown. You see Thompson. He hadn't pitched in 17 days. Just wipe him off there. He's going to start tomorrow. But really nobody, even Perez and Reyes, with as few pitches as they threw, everybody should be available.
One of the concerns for the Cardinals going into this season, no doubt, was who was going to close games out, and it's not even talked about anymore, the way that Ryan Franklin has been pitching in the ninth.
Absolutely. And you guard against, when you only get 5 innings from your starter, and tomorrow you have basically a bullpens start. And Wellemeyer, and he'd be the first to tell you, has more responsibility and would love to have gone deeper in this game.
What's interesting about Trevor Miller, he'll work from the third base side of the rubber, where a lot of guys that throw like Trevor, lefty, and at times can really drop down, they'll move to the first base side to create even a more lopsided effect against the lefties.
He's going to get out there and give that illusion that he's throwing behind a left-handed batter, even from the third base side. But in his mind, he's doing it for when he does face a right-hander and he has a little trouble.
That's well hit left field. Will it stay in the ballpark? And the catch made by Duncan.
And a lot of times when a guy will throw from the third base side, like a left-handed pitcher like this, it's trying to get the ability to get inside to the right-handed hitter. He didn't quite get all the way in there, but Duncan just drifting back and makes the catch a foot away from the wall.
So he makes the catch. There's 2 away. And Lance Nix. It's almost where a situation where Miller will drop down, but almost where his plant foot is throwing across his body.
Well, most left-handers do throw across their body, much more so than right-handers. But you can see how, even throwing from the third base side, he's tall and lanky, so he throws slightly across his body, and it still gives that illusion to a left-handed batter that the ball is being released behind him. But it does allow him and helps him get away with the breaking ball. See, that's not where he wanted to throw that, but it was far enough inside he gets away with it.
Fans get a chance to meet and know Trevor Miller just a little bit. He's an interesting guy and a standing family. Celebrated a birthday in San Francisco.
36.
2-1 pitch. A liner. And Nix, with the lefty-lefty matchup, wins that battle. And he's had a nice night, 2 for 3. Single, double, 2 RBIs. Aflac. The Aflac trivia question: since 1955, who holds the Reds a record for most intentional walks? I think Dunn, Aflac, Foster, Bench.
Johnny Bench. Surprising, because with the big red machine there was a lot of protection in that lineup, and Johnny wasn't a high average guy. Yeah, he could hit you home runs, but you could pitch to him, and very carefully. But
Hall of Famer, great player.
Oh yeah.
Well, you think about some of the players on those teams. Wow.
He usually would bat, 5th, 6th in that lineup. Mostly 5th.
Did you enjoy competing against Pete Rose? I mean, I bet you loved it.
Well, Pete Rose, the all-time hit leader, but you really didn't worry about Pete, because if you got a hit, it basically most of the time it's going to be a single. The other guys in that lineup was who you really worried about, because they were going to drive him in. So it was fun to compete against Pete, but in many ways he was not as dangerous, or you didn't think of him as being troublesome that you would as other guys in that lineup, including the Johnny Bench. Foster in his MVP year, but Morgan, even being a left-hander, Morgan was very difficult for me because he only swung at strikes, and I tried to get ahead. Perez was the great RBI machine. That was probably the most dangerous, but Concepcion in there, Griffey Sr., even Dreesen when he was in that. But Pete was Pete. He was going to get his hits, but they were going to be singles.
Lazy fly out to center. Rasmus puts it away. Midway through 6, 4-2 Reds. In a prime location, the Hyatt Regency St. Louis Riverfront. Take advantage of Hyatt's exclusive baseball package that includes overnight accommodations, your choice of 2 or 4 Cardinals tickets, and check out the Hyatt Regency St. Louis Riverfront.
You checked it out lately?
Outstanding, yeah.
The old Adams Mark that they really redid. Did a beautiful job of that, and got a lot of good friends there.
Here's Duncan. Cardinals trail 4-2. The lefty Herrera. And a swing and a miss. Walt Jocketty is here. We heard from John Mozeliak. I talked to John this past road trip, and he was telling me that initially he had zero ambition to get into baseball. Just life took him in different directions, brought him towards the Colorado Rockies at that time. He grew up cheering for the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals, the teams that he could hear on the radio. 1-1 pitch, a swing and a miss. And he said, basically, I was doing fantasy baseball before people were doing fantasy baseball back then.
And he grew up in Colorado too, right? Suburb of Denver.
Yeah, and he said he was running notes and stats down to Don Baylor. Caught the eye of Walt Jocketty, and those two became very close. He came to St. Louis. John followed and worked his way up. What we see now is the general manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. 2-2 pitch. Duncan pulls it foul.
Herrera was acquired with Volquez in the Josh Hamilton deal. And you could tell, you know, I mean, he's 5'6". So selected by the Rangers in the 45th round of the 2006 first-year draft.
Isn't that some 45th round?
Well, when you're 5'6", it's
and you don't throw hard.
And you don't throw hard. You know, a lot of people are going to, you know, the scout really has to defend himself. Why you want to draft a 5'6" guy? But here he is pitching in the big leagues, and he just struck out Duncan.
Duncan with a walk in, 2 Ks now.
Goes right after him. There's a little breaking ball. Starting inside, throws Duncan, and then breaks over the plate. I'm a real champion of guys like Herrera, that I have a great respect for them, that they want to compete with these guys, and they should.
Herrera not tall enough to get that throw.
Now that's the problem. You had to be 5'7.5" to catch that throw.
Right off the top of the glove.
But that's not his fault, as Hernandez trying to get the ball to his pitcher, thinks that he's a little bit taller. He lobbed the ball there, and that's a tough play. When you throw it behind a pitcher and you're trying to jump up, you're trying to catch the ball, step on the bag all at one time. A real simple play, and just that little lob where sometimes you got to throw it a little bit harder and you have a more direct path.
This is where you have to cash in. If at this level they give you extra outs. This isn't the minor leagues. This is the major leagues.
Very good point.
And LaRue shoots one into center. And Keel's got to retrace his steps.
He didn't know it was
throw to first, not in time. I'll tell you what, I think he missed second base.
Yeah, there's going to be a double play.
That's the right call.
He didn't know the outs.
No argument from Rick Ankiel. He did not retrace his steps. Take a look here. He steps on the bag and rounds it, and if you do that, you've got to retrace, and he didn't. Fans at Wednesday, June 3rd is the second of 5 Ice Mountain autograph nights for 4 current players and 2 former players. Will be available for autograph signings for fans ages 20 and under. Details, you can always find out more at stlcardinals.com. Kids can come to the ballpark for as low as $7 this year here at Busch Stadium.
Cheaper than a movie ticket.
That's right.
Hey, how about coming to the upcoming games? Plenty of seats available for the rest of this series, and most locations. Blaine Boyer has taken over. The Rockies series, there's still seats available all weekend.
Apparently on Sunday, that's one of the better giveaways for the kids, which is the backpack for
Molina.
Yeah, the Yadier Molina backpack this Sunday, and it's also a run the bases day afterwards.
And it's also Pooches in the Park, North Star ice cream.
So come on out to Busch Stadium this weekend. And there's a strike on the outside corner. Ryan Hannigan. Have we seen Boyer be consistent enough for Tony La Russa to feel a bit more trust in him?
He's been scored upon 4 times in his 13 appearances. And the first 2 times they just wanted to see what he had. And they just thought his motion was out of whack, his windup. He's gotten better. But then the last couple times out, he's kind of getting up some runs. Maybe one of those guys that just needs a little more work to stay sharp, too.
So leadoff base hit for Hannigan. And this is Herrera. He will hit for himself. All 5'6" of Daniel Ray Herrera. squares. The bunt is down. Only plays to go to first. Boyer to Albert. Sacrifice is good. So 1-3 on the sacrifice, and we're back to the top of the lineup in Dickerson. Just joined us. The Cardinals had a 2-0 lead. Reds came back with 3 2-out runs in the fourth. Added another one in the fifth, and they lead it 4-2. They've out hit the Cardinals 7-5. So another one of those games where the offense hasn't quite been there for Tony La Russa's club.
No, it's still a little out of sync. You know, Rasmus has had a nice game with 2 runs scored, a 3-for-3 performance, including his 6th home run.
That almost hit him inside for ball 1.
Boyer now throwing that 2-seam fastball, sinking action, and he's got a very good curveball. But they've simplified his motion, always throwing out of the stretch. His arm was dragging, couldn't stay on top of his breaking ball or his fastball when he first got here from Atlanta.
And that misses inside. 2 balls, no strikes. And he is working exclusively from the stretch.
Right. Doesn't hurt that he and Wainwright are extremely good friends from their minor league days in the Atlanta Braves organization.
The Cardinals certainly have pitched well, but hitting has been the concern for them. That's taken low. 3 balls and no strikes. You can pitch well, but eventually even the offense has to catch up to an extent. And at times it just hasn't been there enough.
Wainwright had a lead in yesterday's game and let it get away. And admittedly, he didn't have his best stuff, and it was a scuffle. But you know, when you're not getting a lot of offensive support, you're not, putting away the other team to where your pitching staff has a little breathing room.
Cardinals with the 3rd best ERA in the month of May in the major leagues. 3-0 pitch. Boyer makes a habit of, after every pitch, receiving the ball back from the catcher, then licking his pitching hand and making sure he's off the mound, then going to his pant leg to wipe it off. Every pitch he'll do that. 3-1. And he missed outside. So the month of May for the Cardinals, pitching wise, 3.56 ERA. But look at that. They're the only team top 5 with a losing record, 13-14. And when you have that kind of ERA, then you start to say, all right, well, why not? Why aren't you winning? You have to point a little bit to the offense.
And their current ERA coming in is 3.60, which leads the major leagues for the season.
So 1 out, runners at first and second. The Cardinals need a double play here.
Reyes is up in the Cardinals bullpen, and Massett, who we talked about earlier, is warming up, so it looks like we'll get a chance to see him for the Reds.
Salas has a sacrifice fly back in the 5th inning.
And Boyer has a plus arm. He's consistently 94, 95 with his fastball. He's got that good curveball. Sometimes you have to make quality pitches.
Here's an 0-1 pitch to Rosales. Jammed him. Can they turn 2? Thurston to second. Out there. That's all they're going to get. Dickerson running hard into second base.
It's not hit hard enough to really be a routine double play ball. And Thurston got a good feed to Schumacher, eluding the runner. He tries to go up, but then the smartest thing he did was hold on to the ball. More than likely, probably would have thrown the ball away. So when he gets it there, and he had a little trouble with the clutch, that's a tough play for him. And by holding on to it, you make sure that you don't throw that away.
He did have.
You get an out. You're 2 outs now.
He did have the presence of mind to even
think about third.
Yeah, take a look to throw behind that runner. 2 outs, and it's first and third. And a swing and a miss. Again, they'll throw behind the runner at first. Lou had a pickoff back in the first inning. First game of this 8-game homestand, and the first of 4 against the Reds. Runners at first and third with 2 outs. Phillips is 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a walk. Up the middle and a base hit. That makes it 5-2. So Brandon Phillips comes through. Breaking ball that was up, and he picks up his 31st RBI.
And it really looked like he slowed down his motion and just really hanging breaking ball up there, bounced right up the middle. We talked about earlier saying Phillips there made the adjustment, and he drove in the second most RBIs in the month of May from any National Leaguer, and he delivers another. Now Tony will counter and bring in Reyes to face Bruce.
So Boyer, 2 singles allowed and a walk. Denny's Reyes coming in. Lefty-lefty matchup when we come back. As the Reds lead the St. Louis Cardinals 5-2. Top of the 7th. Things got going early on for St. Louis. Colby Rasmus, by the way, a triple away from the cycle. It's been a positive for the Cardinals as they led 2-0. We thought Pujols may have been hurt early. That was not the case. And Albert's been close on a couple of defensive plays, but just short. Denny's Reyes into the ball game with 2 runners on to face the lefty Jay Bruce.
Faced 2 batters yesterday. A switch hitter, they turned around, he got a base hit, and a lefty, he got a base hit up the middle. So, but he's had the most appearances on the Cardinals staff. This is his 25th appearance. Lefties are batting .233 against him. He had a career high 75 appearances last year with Minnesota.
And a swing and a miss. All-Star celebration will also feature one of the best signings in St. Louis at the Cardinals Museum, the Bowling Hall of Fame. July 11th through the 13th, the All-Star game, and the All-Star game on the 14th. But big names: Reggie Jackson, Ozzie Smith, Bruce Sutter, Steve Carlton, Paul Molitor, Brooks Robinson, Teddy Simmons, Bob Gibson will be there. Stan the Man will be there. Find out more at mab-celebrity.com. mab-celebrity.com.
And it's got that good breaking ball. He's pitched with the Reds as one of his teams in the past.
Dick Zitzman putting that on. Numbers on Reyes, 25th appearance. There's a 1-2. Outside 2-2.
You mentioned Jay Bruce with his 14 home runs among the league leaders, but a lot of strikeouts. Picked up another one here tonight.
Doesn't chase that time. Now the runner's off with his pitch.
He's averaged down to 227 with his 14 home runs, 30 RBIs, but 44 strikeouts. At 180 plus at bats.
Fouled away. See if Reyes comes set as he delivers to the plate. He doesn't pause. It's a balk. A couple times it looked like he was pretty quick to the plate.
They used to. Bach and Bob's not here, but there are times when they say you have to come to a discernible stop.
What do you think there? It's close.
It's close.
Three and two. Runners at first and second. Ball in the gap. You can see Phillips score from first.
I had a balk called on me in an old timers game.
Was it a planned one or was this a real balk?
No, it was a real balk. Umpires came out, did this, and they called a balk on it. Man, you know, it's kind of changed over the years. I balked all the time.
And a swing and a miss. Bruce strikes out. Reyes will strand two as he comes in and gets the strikeout. Time to stretch at the ballpark. It's 5-2. To 2 as we move to the bottom of the 7th. Joe Thurston and Nick Stavino has turned into quite a pinch hitter for the Cardinals. And Brendan Ryan. So 7, 8, and 9. And give this lefty some credit here. His third inning of work.
Absolutely. He's got a couple double plays behind him, but he's only allowed one hit.
I'm sure Dusty will tell you this is exactly what they needed. A couple of guys to give them quality innings. After Volquez left after just one inning here tonight. Volquez 1 inning, 2 hits and a run. Lincoln 3 innings, gave up the home run to Rasmus, and now Herrera in his third inning of work for the Cincinnati Reds.
Cardinals cannot lose ground.
There you go. This could be extra bases. Thurston digging for 2. And he has his second double here tonight. And now Nick Stavino coming up for the Cardinals, and had a chance to ask Tony La Russa before the game about Nick and what he's brought to the club.
Well, he comes, really prepared for this. He's a major college program. He's been a clutch hitter in the minor leagues. He has a reputation coming up of taking tough at bats, and now with some experience, he's showing that he's not intimidated. He'll take his whacks, and he's been successful.
College program he's alluding to is LSU, and Stabenow was 5 for 18 on the recent road trip. Saturday had that key double to start the rally for the Cardinals and a 6-2 win. Tell you about the pitching change when we come back. Nick Massett coming in for Cincinnati. St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. 5-2 Cincinnati, and here is Stabenow. Not easy to be a pinch hitter at this level and have success, and this is the role all of a sudden off the bench from this side of the plate that Stabenow finds himself in.
Right, you find yourself thinking you're going to pinch it against the lefty, and then make a pitching change. You put a right-hander out there. You may not know much about him, and apparently a lot of the scouts around the league are finding out a little bit about Nick Massett. Originally signed with the Rangers, traded to the White Sox, and then came to Cincinnati in the Ken Griffey deal. Pitched well last year, 10 appearances, 2.08 ERA. Just came off the disabled list. He had a left oblique strain, but this guy has just kind of come into his own. He just, he's kind of in the minor leagues, kind of flirted back and forth whether he's going to be a starter, a bullpen guy.
And a 1-0 pitch. Outside, 2 balls, no strikes.
And they say he's just starting to gain some confidence in himself. 11 of his 13 outings have been scoreless. He's 2-0. See the ERA right at 1. 15 strikeouts. Still a little bit high with the walks in the 17 innings with 8. And the opponents aren't hitting much against him, but of late he is supposed to have been just outstanding. He's picked up a couple wins.
And a 2-0 pitch to Nick Stabenow on the outside corner. Tough pitch.
94 miles an hour, but they say he's got just unbelievable movement as his ball really just dives at the bottom of the strike zone.
Jim Joyce, our home plate umpire. You can hear those strike calls up here. The 2-1. Ground ball towards short. Gonzalez from his knees, and he made the plays. He got back up and makes an outstanding play. That's a heck of a play.
Stabenow got pretty good speed for a big man, and there's a much better play defensively. Always liked Gonzalez, the way he played, and You know, he can swing the bat at times, and other times, you know, he's pretty flashy defensively. Pretty good all-around shortstop.
Brendan Ryan with one out.
This is where Brendan's got to deliver. He had a chance earlier with one out and a runner at third and hit a ground ball to first. This time he's got to come through.
Schumacher on deck. And the first pitch is a strike. Brendan tonight has grounded out to first and grounded out to short. Both times he's come up with runners in scoring position. Bassett had minor league stints with the Stockton Ports, the Frisco Rough Riders, the Oklahoma Redhawks, and now with the Cincinnati Reds. Somehow Hannigan kept that in front.
Yeah. Lucky as he stabs at that ball, and no advancement by Thurston. So the ball thrown right in the dirt, and just kind of got lucky as it just popped straight up. Bassett only 26 years of age, 6'4", 235 out of St. Petersburg.
The 1-1 pitch to Brendan Ryan. Just missed outside. 2 balls and a strike. Some finals in. As the Yankees win again, they beat Cleveland 5-2. Florida beat Milwaukee 7-4. So if the Cardinals can come back, they'd be atop the Central with Milwaukee. And Pittsburgh over the Mets 8-5. A 2-1 pitch to Brendan. 2-2.
Cincinnati club right on the heels of the Cardinals. So
2.5 back of the Cardinals, 3.5 games out overall.
Bassett from St. Petersburg, Florida. Cardinals had spring training there for 50+ years. First time I went there, you know what the average age of a St. Petersburg resident? Deceased.
A little old, huh?
Yeah.
2-2 pitch. And that scoots away, and a run should score. Thurston scores.
It should have been thrown out as Bassett took his eye off the ball, trying to catch the ball, not looking it into his glove, applied the tag, and the ball popped out. Been plenty of time for them to tag out Thurston. Separation from the catcher, he coming home, but Bassett's right there. See, he tried to tag it, he just didn't have the ball. You get a better look here, as that's a pass ball.
Boy, Thurston has been aggressive this year on the bases, to say the least.
Watch him trying to tag it, or hits him in the knee, as he was more worried about tagging the runner out. Helps to have the ball, and it helps to make the tag.
Cuts a lead to 5-3, and a 3-2 pitch to Brendan Ryan.
They did score that a pass ball, didn't they?
Yes.
Rightfully so.
Both teams have committed 1 error. The Cardinals have been out hit 8-6, and they trail by 2 runs. It's 5-3. Very aggressive by Thurston. Hit to third, and Ryan retired for the second out. Here's Skip Schumacher. And let's go pitch by pitch on Brendan Ryan, presented by Chevrolet.
Good fastball right down in the strike zone. Then he kind of overthrows the pitch. There's a little breaking ball that's away. Fastball, that good movement on it. Breaking ball that gets by Hennigan, and then a fastball foul back. Fastball he just rolls over on, hits the ground ball to third. Good thing Thurston was aggressive.
Skip tonight. The leadoff spot is 0 for 3. He's grounded to third, grounded to first, and grounded out to second.
Chris Perez warming up for the Cardinals, nobody for the Reds.
And a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Got a piece of Hennigan.
Now, Hannigan at times has not looked real comfortable,
Right.
blocking the ball or even just stabbing at it.
He's hit very well.
out of play. Check swing, and did he go? No.
Lucky there by a replacement umpire. DJ Rayburn says he didn't go, but I've seen a lot of guys rung up on a similar pitch.
Two and two the count. Rasmus, who is a triple away from the cycle, is on deck. Skip a ground ball to second, backhanded by the Gold Glover from a year ago. Cardinals are through in the seventh, but they pick up a run. It's now 5-3. Record of 1-1. ERA is now dipped to 2.30, and opponents only hitting 167 against the hard-throwing right-hander.
See, the walks have been a little bit of a problem, but not of late, as he's been a lot more consistent with his fastball and slider in the strike zone.
Hernandez, Nix, and Gonzalez. It's 5-3 Cincinnati. Chris Perez has had a watchful eye on the College World Series. His Miami Hurricanes. He was in that just 3 years ago.
He'd rather be where he is today.
I would assume so, especially on the 1st and 15th. First pitch. Fastball lifted to center. Colby Rasmus will back up, and he'll make the catch. Rasmus, again, is just the triple away from the cycle. And he'll be due up first for the Cardinals in the 8th.
He's going to have to face the veteran Arthur Rhodes.
Folks in Cincinnati tell us that they love Arthur Rhodes. Cardinals had interest in Rhodes in the offseason.
And interest in him, but Walt Jockey and Cincinnati won out with more money.
Lance Nix now. He's had a big night, couple of base hits. Pitch at 94 in the black on the outside corner. Nix with a big double. RBI that plated 2 back in the 4th. There's the slider that time.
Just looking at Arthur Rhodes' ERA, you can tell why they like him. 21 games, 0.53. Circle change up from Wellemeyer. to Lance Nix is our Hardy's prime cut of the game. Double back in the 4th inning, the 2-run double.
Scored Bruce, who had walked, and then Hernandez, who singled in front of him. There's a pitch that gets away from LaRue. No play, and Nix will be safe at first.
Strike him out. Probably wild pitch. Now watch, you see where LaRue's saying, hey, I want it down, but I want it down and away. And then that slider that more in the middle of the plate and gets by LaRue as he tries to block it. So he's scored a strikeout and wild pitch and reaches base.
And now it's Alex Gonzalez. See if Perez can't get the double play here. Gonzalez 0 for 3. Average this season is now dipped to 219. And he hits Gonzalez. You can see where LaRue wanted that outside, and that pitch exploded back in. And Perez is thinking that he hit the bat.
Was a little sound to it. See if it hits the knob, but you see LaRue set up outside, and the ball just running in. Now look like he got the elbow all the way. Just bone, we heard.
And as a young player now, a young pitcher, this is where can't worry about the strikeout that wasn't with the wild pitch.
Well, that was his own creation.
Yeah, and now hit by pitch, so got to get out of it.
But it's the same thing, and you know, the inability to locate your pitches. You know, every time LaRue asks for it one place, the ball goes the opposite. It's got much better, and it's not always with the slider. A lot of times it's with the fastball.
At time the slider at 81 miles an hour.
If that's a slider up, you know, comes a much more hittable pitch when it's up there.
Astros win again. They defeated the Rockies 4-1.
Holmes is on deck.
0-2. Perez has talked about wanting to be a closer. What's the next step for him to get to that spot? Obviously, Franklin's been very good this year, but I'm talking about in the future for him.
Well, to me, when you kind of look at, you know, you look at the two hard throwers. Mott is assumed that 8th inning role. That's what he's got. That's his next step, is the 8th inning. Where I kind of feel that Mott is a step ahead of Perez right now. And both of them are where they need to be. Have some success at this level.
1-2. It certainly will get your attention.
Well, he just, you know, has no command. And it's the inconsistency of trying to locate your pitches.
LaRue out to calm down his young, hard-throwing right-hander, Chris Perez.
Cardinals are still in this ball game. If you can shut them, the Reds down at this point. It'll be tough enough for the Cardinals offense to score 3 to win this game. So you can't allow them to have any more. And Hannigan's a pretty good offensive player.
The 1-2 pitch on its way. A liner and no chance to get the double play, but they get the key out. Out number 2. Pujols still heads up. He's thinking, all right, maybe I can beat that runner to the bag at first. Then realized he couldn't do that and looked at second. So Johnny Gomes will be the pinch hitter. 2 outs here in the top of the 8th. Cardinals down by 2, but they've got the heart of the order coming up. Rasmus, Pujols, and Duncan. And don't forget, they still have on the bench Ryan Ludwig.
Late last month, he was recalled from Louisville. Arthur Rhodes will come in. He's their 8th inning man. And Gomes was leading about all offensive position spots when he got the time of his promotion.
Rasmus has really struggled against lefties this year. He's due up first. He's a triple away from the cycle. And one of the questions right now for Tony La Russa, do you save Ludwig for a chance to tie it or put you ahead, or do you pinch hit for Rasmus in that spot?
To me, I pinch hit, because we've seen what he's done against lefties, and Arthur Rhodes is one of the best.
Right.
You know, he's having a great night and be part of the discussion, or you know, but you're playing with a short bench.
And a swing and a miss. We'll find out shortly when we come back. Red strand 2. Rasmus, Pujols, Duncan due up. Right taste, it never fills you up. The difference is drinkability. And by Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. Arthur Rhodes will check in for Cincinnati. And it's 5-3. The Reds on top as we move to the Cardinals half of the 8th.
Rasmus is going to hit against the veteran who's 39 years of age now and still going strong. Arthur Rhodes in his 17th inning, or 17th year in the big leagues. Shut out opponents 20 of his 21 appearances. With this appearance here, he ties Ron Klein for 63rd in the all-time appearance list with 736. He ended the season with 15 scoreless appearances covering 12 innings. Got an ERA at 0.53. Big night for Rasmus, but can he get on base? The Cardinals playing with that short bench. You got a big bullet in Ludwig, and you kind of have to pick your spots with Molina because of his, you know, his running speed.
So Rasmus, who is the triple away from the cycle, will face Arthur Rhodes, who has spent time with the Orioles, the Phillies, the A's, the Pirates, the Cleveland Indians, Seattle Mariners a couple of times, and the Florida Marlins. Marlins beat Milwaukee tonight.
Part of your problem, and maybe Rhodes will put him on with a base hit, is that you got Duncan third in this inning. You know, if you want to use Ludwig, but hopefully you can get Rasmus on, and then you've got Albert, and maybe you can pull Ludwig, pinch hit for Duncan.
And interesting here, Dusty Baker does not have a right-hander getting loose right now.
Well, this is how good that Arthur Rhodes has been pitching. And he's been pitching long enough where he can handle right-handers. Cordero is their closer.
2 balls, 1 strike. Last cycle was Mark Redzelanek at the old Busch Stadium in 05. The 2-1 pitch. Also gives a little vote of confidence here to Rasmus. The other side of things, 3-hit night and facing a lefty.
Sure, and because of the configuration of the Cardinals outfielders, you just can't make that many moves where there's going to be times when these lefties are going to have to face a really tough left-handed pitcher.
2-2 the count. Rasmus with a double, then the home run in the third, single in the fifth. The 2-2. Good eye. 3-2.
Right now, that's what is most helpful.
Maybe we should have expected this too, because last couple of years he's gotten off to very slow starts. Starting to heat it up a little bit.
Maybe June is the magic month for him.
Rasmus to first. And the first man retired. Brings in Pujols. Pujols with a double and an RBI back in the first. Walked in the third and grounded into a hard hit double play. 5-4-3. Back in the fifth. He'll throw that baseball out after it hit the ground.
Arthur said, hey, that didn't happen years ago.
It's been around long enough where it did.
You know, umpire would look at a hitter and say, what do you mean you want to change balls? Hit the ground. So what? They'll go right after Albert because he can't beat you. He can get one run closer. If you put him on, then the potential tying run comes to the plate.
Arthur Rhodes, another one of those pitchers that's come back from Tommy John surgery. Had that back in 07. Breaking ball and a strike. Been a closer different times in his career too.
He's 39 years of age now. 6'2", 212. Albert 2 for 4 off him in his career.
0-1 pitch. Center field. Big out for Arthur Rhodes. 2 away.
No Ludwig here. Got Ant Keel on deck. There's Ryan, so maybe if Duncan could get on base, use your bullet.
Duncan over 2.
It's more of a power left-hander, so Duncan should have a better shot at hitting him. Where everything's going to be hard, whether it's a fastball or a slider. I don't really see Arthur Rhodes throwing the changeup or that real slow breaking ball.
Paints the black with that pitch. 1-1. Duncan has struck out twice looking, and he walked his first time up. 0 for 2 on the night. 250 against lefties, 262 against the righties this year.
He's fearless there.
Duncan laces one to left center field, but it will be caught. Nix reaches up at the last second to make the catch. Sends us to the ninth. 2-run lead for the Reds.
Harris, Jack Clark standing by. 2-out trouble for the Cards. A look at that. A huge night for Colby Rasmus. They'll break that down. Plus, we'll have Tony La Russa's live post-game news coverage. It's all coming up after the game. For now, it's back to Dan and Al, guys.
Okay, Jim, thanks. Here's Kyle McClellan in for the Cardinals. 5-3 Cincinnati here in the ninth. And he'll get the top of the lineup. Dickerson, Rosales, and Phillips. Cardinals left with Ankiel, LaRue, and Thurston due up in the bottom of the ninth.
Cordero is now warming up in the Reds bullpen, their closer.
He's a good one.
Would you start the inning, with Rhodes to face Ankiel?
You got two pretty good bullets on the bench with Ludwig and Molina. At some point you want to use them, I would think. Now would Tony want a lefty righty matchup to start the inning and then take his chance?
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. You could bring in the lefty and then let Tony decide whether he wants to counter, and then with Ludwig or somebody, and then you bring out Cordero.
Pujols to McClellan. Out. Tell you what, when you're pitching and Albert's at first base, which is about 155 out of about 162 games, you better get over to first, because he will range so much to his right.
Yeah, so far to his right. A much easier play for the second baseman, but he's won a Gold Glove there, and he made 5 real quick errors in the beginning of the season, but he's been very, very steady in Gold Glove caliber since.
You have to wonder about his range as compared to other first basemen that have, the opportunities and the total chances.
I think he has more range, because he's not afraid to go out there and take balls away from second base.
And when you think about the 5 errors, they're errors of being aggressive and not being passive. He's always trying to get to anything he can. Like a third baseman always ranges to his left, Pujols will always range to his right and try to get to anything he can, which is not necessarily the easiest play for that first baseman to try to get that runner heading down the first base line.
I've always heard it described as a third baseman's responsibility, but never a first baseman.
That's what I mean.
Because the bag is kind of important, the first base.
You need to get back to it. 35,815 here tonight. 3-0 on Rosales. 3-5-8-1-5 here at Busch Stadium. 3 balls and 1 strike with 1 out, nobody on.
The thing about Kyle, he usually has very good control. Again, congratulations to his brother and the birth of their first and little girl.
Strike 2. It's been a thrill for him to pitch here in St. Louis. He's talked about really enjoying the role that he's in right now, being a bullpen guy, and the importance of different roles out there, whether it be in the 6th when the game's on the line or the 8th. He's done a lot for the Cardinals out there in the last year and a half or so. 1 out walk. Did not want to do that. It brings up Phillips.
Brandon, probably their most dangerous hitter right now.
RBI single in the 7th.
Ottawa out of the lineup really changes their offense.
All but one of their runs have been scored with 2 outs here tonight. Talked about it earlier, how crucial that is to be able to put an opposing team away and get that final out of an inning, especially with runners in scoring position. One for 3 on the night, Brandon Phillips. Take those 9 home runs from that second base spot. 0-2.
I wonder why 2 of my grandkids are up this late. Hello to Cowan and Lena.
They're watching, huh?
Yeah, I guess their school ended yesterday.
0-2. See if Cal can't get a double play. Tough to double up Phillips. He runs very well. 0-2 pitch. And a strikeout. Got him to chase.
Cal's got good quality stuff. I mean, he's got the fastball, he's got slider, curveball, changeup, got all the pitches. That's why at times they've always looked at him as potential and kind of a hanging pitch right there, but gets away with it as it's up in the zone. But started all through the minor leagues. Remember, he had 2 elbow surgeries, cost him about 2 years, and prior to last year never pitched above Double-A. And what a job he's done here at the big league level, his hometown.
Jay Bruce and a strike. I think you're about to go in the direction of, that's why they've looked at him potentially as a starter.
Right.
As he piggybacked the starts that Carpenter made this spring if Chris was not healthy enough to start the year in the rotation. And you wonder, after being a bullpen guy and all that time off, if that transition would really be that difficult for him.
No, it wouldn't be, because he knows what works here at the major league level. You have success, the old formula for pitchers, you bring him up, pitch a year or 2 in the bullpen, and then go into the rotation. But he's been such a good weapon out of the bullpen, late in games. You know he can do this job. You just aren't sure whether he could, he's got the moxie, he's got the fortitude, he's got the strength, but he can handle the relief. Could he handle starting rotation? Right now there isn't a need for it. Curveball.
0-2. Bounced it, and it gets away from LaRue. So now a runner's in scoring position. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Like LaRue is really saying, hey, I want you to bury it, and not a very good technique in trying to block it as he backhands it. Instead of the patented, going forward, engulfing the ball, using your chest protector to smother it. There's the technique that we're talking about.
2-2. And the Reds have scored 4 of their 5 with 2 outs. Another chance here. They have stranded 7 tonight. 8 base hits. The Cardinals have stranded 4, but only 6 hits here tonight. They trail 5-3. Two. All or nothing, as you said here with Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, this is the guy that I think they have to be a little disappointed in. Whether he's gotten a little home run happy. Chicks dig the long ball, but baseball people like consistency.
Here comes a 3-2. And a walk. So 2 walks in the inning. First and second with 2 outs. That brings in the first baseman, Hernandez. Mentioned that Thompson will get the start for the Cardinals tomorrow. And the Cardinals will face Bronson Arroyo, Loge, Cueto on Wednesday, Carpenter and Harang on Thursday.
That's a good matchup. Remember that Harang beat Carpenter here a few years back, 1-0, and he got the game-winning hit.
Reds, from their perspective, you're thinking, well, how good does this feel with arguably our best coming back off the DL, but now we don't know what's going to happen with Volquez only going 1 inning tonight, and now they have a 2-run lead here in the 9th inning.
Sure, getting the 1 inning, and then you're thinking, oh, we save our bullpen for the rest of the series, and they might pull out a victory on top of it.
Bullpen has been very good for Dusty here tonight. Started with Mike Lincoln, 3 innings, Herrera 3 innings, Arthur Rhodes, and Cordero waiting in the pen, their closer. Ground ball backing up Thurston, bobbles it, Still with time, over to Pujols. The Reds have stranded 9. Bottom of the 9th, it's 5-3. (13) 1.71 ERA. Opponents hitting .239 against him. He's always been a hard thrower and a very good pitcher and a very good closer for the various stops he's been at.
224 career saves. He's converted 27 straight going back to last season. You see Molina at the on-deck circle, so it's Ankiel. Then Molina will hit for LaRue. Thurston. And you still have Ludwig on that bench to break it open or to get the game winner. So Cordero, who is not allowed to run his last 7 appearances, he's 3rd in the National League in saves, tied for 3rd with 13. He's got an ERA under 2. He has a 1-loss record of 0-2. Well, here we go. Been a while since we've won one in the 9th inning, come from behind.
0 for 2 against Cordero is Ricky Ankiel. On the night, he has struck out, grounded out, and reached on an error. Up there hacking on that first pitch. Again, it's worth noting that Tony La Russa, even down late in games, is not opposed to doing that. Doesn't worry about taking a strike. He feels that that first pitch that you get that you feel is a good pitch to go after, it might be the only pitch you get in the at-bat.
Now, sometimes we take exception if a guy would pop it up, saying, well, that's not a pitch you could drive.
Here's a 1-1. Off the plate and foul. So now 1-2. Ankiel certainly still trying to get his timing back after that May 4th collision with the wall.
So for his last 11.
And a 1-2. Think he still gets the itch ever to get back on the mound?
No.
I don't either, unfortunately, because I'd like to see it. One of the great arms in baseball.
Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan, unless he came and begged him, there was no chance.
Little check swing, and he held up just enough. Cardinals need base runners, down by 2.
Boy, a leadoff walk would be huge. I'd rather have him get on base or drive himself in. Fastball in. And away, I guess.
And goodbye. Ankiel strikes out. And Yadier Molina will be the hitter. No pinch hit for LaRue.
It's right there on the corner.
Yachty leads the catchers in All-Star voting, and he very well could be part of the All-Star game along with his brother.
Sure. Benji is leading all catchers in home runs and RBIs, I think, from catchers. And I think he has the most game-winning hits in the National League.
Thurston is on deck. 1 for 4 is Yachty against Cordero. Post-game show coming up with Pat Perez.
Ludwig on the bench. He's got his helmet in his hand and a bat in his hand. Sitting on the bench.
You would figure most certainly if Molina would get aboard that we'd see Ludwig.
And there's no chance you can't pinch run for him because Stabenoa is out of this game. He'd be the emergency catcher.
Ooh, that caught the catcher. Ouch. Yachty knows that feeling, and Hannigan, I believe, took it off his arm or his wrist. Umpire giving him time.
Saw Yachty even ask him if he was okay too.
One ball and 2 strikes on Molina. Slowly hit towards short. Barehanded play by Gonzalez. Stretch at first by Hernandez, and he's slow to get up.
Yeah, he might have hurt himself. So he went out there. He's a catcher by trade. He had a nice stretch, but then had a little trouble. Even with Yachty running, Gonzalez fields the ball barehanded and makes a nice play.
All right, Budweiser, player of the game, the great American lager. Budweiser, we'll give it to Mike Lincoln. 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. That was the home run by Rasmus, 2 walks and a strikeout. Mike Lincoln, the former Cardinal, our Budweiser great player of the game.
If the score stays as it is, he would probably be awarded the victory.
Up to the discretion of
official score.
Right.
Ludwig's on deck.
Thurston, a little bouncer foul.
He's had a nice night as he's been on base 3 times, a pair of doubles and a walk. Second on the team now with his 13 doubles.
Average at .252, 1 home run, 15 RBIs.
And hit his team leading 3rd triple off the bench in Saturday's game.
There's a base hit, and the tying run comes to the plate. We talked about it at the very beginning of our telecast, how Ludwig was mentioning to me about in batting practice just going to right, trusting his hands, and he felt great afterwards. He's 2 for 4 with a strikeout against Cordero.
Now the only thing Ludwig can do is tie this ball game. Well, you got to tie it before you can win it, don't you?
Brendan Ryan is on deck. Well, this is tough. You've been sitting the whole night. Now you get Cordero.
It's the toughest, one of the toughest jobs, if not the toughest in baseball, is pinch hitting. As you're right, you've been sitting there for 2.5 hours. Now, it is a lot easier today where the batting cage is right adjacent to the dugout.
Ludwig with a fly ball out to right center. It will carry to the wall and caught. The Reds win it. A final of 5-3, and they take game 1 as Ludwig gave it a ride. U.S. Cellular. Cardinals Live coming up, and a look at the catch made at the track.